Hi guys, so this is another video about building a rich text editor in C#, and today we're going to be looking at making edits to the document. So up until now we've been looking at the read-only aspects of the editor, things like drawing text, placing a caret on screen, scrolling, selection with mouse and keyboard, etc. But we're now at the point where we actually want to make edits to the document, and in order to do that we need to dig one layer deeper into RichTextKit and have a closer look at this TextBlock class. So as you know, the text block is what we're using in the text document to store the actual text content. And the problem is that at the moment, or up until now, it only had the ability to append new text to the end of the text block and not make edits to the actual text content. So I thought I'd take this opportunity to just explain a little bit about the top level structure of a text block and go through the various kind of edit operations that we're going to be needing. So I've just put together this little diagram here to try and help visualize it. And what you'll notice first is that all the text for a text block is stored in one UTF-32 code point buffer. Okay, so this is essentially an array of integers, 32-bit integers, and the text for the whole text block, regardless of styling, is all stored in the one array. Adjacent to this array we've got a set of style runs, and each of these defines the type of style that applies to the characters in its range. So for instance here we've got a style run at offset 0, the very beginning, with a length of 6, so these first 6 characters have a style of normal. The next one, offset 6, length of 7, is bold, etc. Okay, now it's important to understand that each code point in this buffer must have exactly one style run associated with it. In other words, we can't have gaps between these style runs, so the offset of this style run should always be the sum of the offset and length of the previous run, and we can't have overlaps either, otherwise the text just won't be rendered correctly. So in any edit operations we need to make to this text block, we need to ensure that the consistency of these runs is maintained. Okay, now as mentioned, the text block already has an add text operation, which is a pretty simple operation. We just need to put the text on the end of this buffer and create a new style run. But we also need to be able to make other edit operations. And there's actually 4 distinct operations that we need to be able to perform on this text. So we'll just run through those now. So the first is just the ability to be able to insert text within the document. Okay, so for example, we want to be able to type at a particular place in the document and have the text that's inserted assume the style of the text that is around it. In fact, we want to assume the style of the text before the insertion point. It seems to be the way most word processors work. So when we've inserted this character, there's a few things that need to happen. The first is the text to the right of the insertion point needs to be shifted to the right in the text buffer to make room for the new text. We then copy in the new text, and then we need to update all of these style runs to maintain their consistency. So the first thing we need to do is change the length of this run to 8, and then shuffle the offsets of all the ones to the right to keep them pointing to the same characters. Okay, so that's one type of insert operation. There's another insert operation though that's a little bit trickier to implement, and that's if we were to insert text here but when it already has styling. So if I was to copy a bold X and paste it in here, for example, we want to be able to put it in with the formatting. And the operation here is a little bit different. First of all, you'll notice that the style run is split into 2. Okay, so we've got a normal run here, a normal run here, and then a bold run in between. So we need to split this run into 2, make a new style run for the newly inserted text, the bold text here, and then again update the offsets of all of these to the right. Okay, so it's similar to the other insert operation I showed, but there's a bit more logic here around when we're inserting with a different style in the middle of an existing style. Okay, the next operation we need is a delete operation. So let's assume we're deleting these 2 characters. The operations are very similar. Again, we shift back the text in the code point buffer. That's kind of the easy part. but then we need to also update the offsets of any runs to the right. That's what I've shown there is kind of the simplest case. If you think about this a bit more, if we were to delete this text, for example, there's a few things going on here. First of all, we need to shorten this first run down to just those 3 characters. This style run and this style run here can be completely deleted because the text they refer to no longer exists. And this style run needs to be adjusted to be shorter, so it's just the remaining text, and its offset updated to the T, which would be back at position 3. Okay, but there's one more optimization we can do here, and that is that this text is all normal now, so we don't actually need this last style run. We can actually coalesce these 2 runs into one and have just one run at offset 0 with however many characters this is in the normal style. Okay, so that's a delete operation. As you can see, there can be quite a few manipulations need to be done to get that right. And then the final one we have is the ability to change the style of existing text without actually inserting or deleting any text. So let's say, for example, I was to change this text to normal red, then what we have here is a bunch of operations to these style runs. We don't need to do any changes to the text itself, but this run would need to be shortened down to 3. This run can be deleted. This run would be shortened and moved to here to point to the start of the letter C. And then we need to create a new style run for this new text and place it in between the existing runs. And then again, make sure the consistency is correct all the way across the text block. Okay, so they're the various operations we need. As I mentioned, there's the 2 forms of insert, one with styling and one without, the delete text operation and the apply style operation. So if we flick back to the code, I'll just quickly show you what we've got here. So this was the existing add text function, and we've now got an insert text as well. Okay, so it takes a position, which is the code point index, into the buffer of where the text is inserted, the text to insert, and an optional style. So that caters for the 2 types of insert operation. We also have so the insert text has a couple of overloads depending on the format of the text you're trying to insert. We also have a delete text, which just takes a position and a length. And we have an apply style function, which takes a position, a length, and a new style to apply to that text. Okay, now just to quickly run through how these functions work. As mentioned, first of all, they update the code point buffer. We've already got operations on those to delete and insert. We then need to go through the style runs and patch them up to make sure they're still consistent. I've got a helper function here, coalesce style runs, which just joins runs together if they happen to have the same style. And then we need to invalidate our layout so that if we're asked to measure ourselves again, we recalculate all of those metrics. Now, as you can see, this code here to fix up these style runs, there's a lot of boundary and edge conditions here that we need to make sure we get right. So this code is ideal for unit testing. So I've put together a set of tests here, and I'll just show you how I've configured this. So rather than dealing with TextBlock style runs directly, I've invented this kind of dummy format where a backslash and a letter indicates a style, and the rest of the text indicates the actual text of a text block. So in other words, here this parse function would return a text block with XXX in style A and YYY in style B. So that we use that function to set up a text block. We then perform an operation on it, in this case an insert text, and we're putting a 1, 2, 3 at position 1, so there. And then we've got a format function which takes a text block and recreates this same format so we can easily compare the contents of it. So you can see that the 1, 2, 3 has been inserted into the text. Just to give another example, this one, insert text with style. In this case, we're inserting at the same position, but we're using a new style. So you can see the A style block has been split. So we've got 1x there, the other two X's there, and then this new block of text has been inserted in the middle. And then we've got tests for inserts, deletes, and applying styles as well. Okay, so I've tried to cover off all the boundary and edge conditions here, and if you look at the test results, you can see they're all passing. Okay, so they're the primitive edit operations that we need on a text block. In the next video, we'll start on making edits in the actual text document, and of course we'll be using these edit operations to do that. And hopefully we'll be able to get a little bit of on-screen editing happening in the new editor. Okay, thanks for watching. I hope you're enjoying, and if you've got comments or feedback, you can find me on Twitter at Top10Software, and we'll see you in the next video. Thanks guys, bye.